Oh, the music. Okay. Ah. All right. Okay, so flickering is gone. Hello, good evening, everyone. And well, I tried to make a nice background, but you still see the the background, I guess. So wait. Okay, so hello everyone. Yeah, I had to laugh at myself when I was putting that backdrop behind me. And as I said, I'm a bit. It's a bit belated again because of some. Well, we have a lot of fun here in the house, so Delved, you much better. Thanks. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I also am burdened by it because I see that flickering light. So it's not fun to look at. So for tonight, what am I going to talk about? Well, as always. Hello, Rita. Oh, your Twitch is frozen. Okay. Well, for me, the technical stuff didn't run either. So on Facebook, I don't go live on TVOP and Indivini. So I am on my personal Facebook. So, but yeah, sometimes these things happen. So for tonight, of course, I will talk about my deprogramming and about specifically about dependency and independency, as well as in mind control programming, as well as in my front life here, and that's what I want to talk about. And it's related to, well, I give you every time when I go live. Of course, I give you updates about my deprogramming from the mind control. And with that incredible roller coaster of that so many things are happening in my life, and I am enjoying it very much. But as well, I am confronted with behaviors which I start to now get more and more conscious about, and that's the good thing. So I talked about it already in last live streams, how I am now more and more aware of that I am in a behavior of younger, yeah, from the remains of the programming, and as well that I also feel I am more grown up than ever. So it is not divided, and I hope that as well to explain better in how that works in mind control and why it is extra hard work for me to deal with it while I am very independent. I was my whole life from the outside. When someone would meet me, for example, in my when I was a music teacher, conductor, piano teacher, and so on, I was just that grown-up woman, and I was already grown up very young. So when I was a teenager, I had friends who were as well older, many years older. That could be 10, even to 15 years older. So for me, I was just in my behavior in the front life. I was not even the teenager behavior. I had an older behavior than I should be, I think, when I was, for example, 14, 15, 16 years old. But I learned in the deep programming, especially this week, about how extreme, when I am aware of, oh, now I have that remain of that little one in me, or a bit behavior like a child. And examples of that are that I could be totally in a kind of stress, like last Saturday evening when I did the Dutch Live. And everything went different here because we have a little cute guy in the house. I enjoy it so much. And for the first time, he is really a week here. So that's the first time that happened. And a little guy of 6.5, 7 years old. And it's very fun. But it's also a bit chaotic, but cute chaotic, nice, and it's very joyful with a lot of playing and so on. And I do as much as possible. Of course, I take part in that because it doesn't happen a lot here in the house, so I enjoy it very much. But that's then chaos. But what then happens is that especially last Saturday evening, that it was totally chaotic in starting my live stream. And that the friend here who has me under her roof, literally in the material stuff, supporting me for last years, that she was talking to me like, calm down, Monique, just go back in your grown-up state. And that is what I try to explain. Like sometimes I have the idea that because I talk so much about mind control and about my deprogramming, that it is as if I am childlike behavior or extremely insecure. But in the outside world, no one notices that. Only the friend here in the house, and that's the undetectable way programming is built in, and also in a lot of personalities, also so-called normal personalities, there is always some hidden behavior, what is lived out pure in the family situation or at home instead of in the outside world. So to be clear, because I feel sometimes like I share so much about my vulnerability and about me digging up younger personalities, that you maybe have the idea, not you, but maybe some who watch me for the first time, like I suddenly become a tiny personality and I don't know what I'm doing. And I do know what I'm doing, but it is ruling in my behaviors. And that's even harder to be aware of, that it rules in me. And yeah, that I cannot explain how irritating it is. Like it is being stuck in a body and then doing things which I am observing while I'm owning the body and the mind. But I see, for example, a behavior like stressing out like last Saturday. And that is very, 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 very annoying. But since my deprogramming and I retrieved my core, yeah, it is so... It's not harder in the work, but it's different. And I hope I can... I can explain that a bit, how that works and how intense that is. And yeah, I wanted to say that because it is like I show myself vulnerable as well, because I am talking about my vulnerabilities and often about younger patterns, or like with the laundry, etc. I see here Delvetje asking, is your feeling back to normal, or is there still some non-feeling? Good question. Well, since my core has retrieved, my feeling is back, and I went through layers of non-feeling, and now, yeah, it's especially since it's like that expression of you do a step forward and you do a step forward and you go you do one step backwards but you go forward too. So there is an improvement. Well, it feels like I do in that non-feeling 3 steps back, and then I do 10 steps forward. So, but the feeling is now so released that I can enjoy more. So since my feeling is, the last non-feeling layer, since that time I liberated that non-feeling layer, I am so, I can live out more my inner joy. Well, you can also maybe see that in the radiation in my live streaming, and sometimes when I go live in the Dutch live streams or the English one, but the Dutch live streams lately, because I am practicing going mobile live and on location. So I start to feel more as a whole. And that counts as well, that the feeling, I talked about what is feeling, that I really was figuring out what is feeling. It's such an extended expression. Like feeling can be emotions, feelings can be of love, but you can feel love in several and on several layers. And it's a large answer, Delvetje, but it is very extended. Delvetje, you have to adjust to your new state of being, and this time a really big step in being completed. Yes, and I feel that too. And yeah, as I said, that I'm very open about it because yeah, I just feel so much love, and I met love, the love, and yeah, that is it comes. I see now that it comes together, that it goes together hand in hand. So apparently, the faith of destiny, I like the word destiny, has brought that together. That shows for me how I'm ready to love, also in the deeper aspects of life. But yeah, love, really love for a man, and that is so extraordinary for me. And I today, last couple of days, it only gets stronger and stronger. So it is an incredible journey. And by the way, on the background you see the vase with some tulips, and underneath some little houses of paper, and that's an example of I love the symbolism of an inner house, like how you create an inner house, and the houses behind me are created by that little guy, by the little boy, and that is I found that just so nice to add it to the live stream, because that is me, everything what is going on in my life, and a part of it I show literally in some items, and yeah, I am like that. So that is back as well. When I was younger and I even at my piano practice, I did that too. So that I then just put in the piano room. Yeah, I did some tiny things to make it cozy for everyone and for the pupils. Some tiny nice things, like little flowers or whatever. And that's also back. So I'm pretty whole. Yeah. Yeah, that is a long, long answer, but that doesn't mean that I'm not confronted with my patterns. Like I'm now so in that grown-up state as, yeah, I can say I feel pretty complete as woman, and that's an incredible feeling, and that makes it all worth it to have gone through all these layers and through the mind control and through all these traumas that I now I can dance, I can laugh, also because I met love, had the love, the love of my life. But that is so that adds to it. I know, but it is so incredible, amazing what I'm experiencing now. So that makes it all worth it. What I then get to endure of that, I feel a kind of behavior of what is a remain of all these little ones who were dependent, and that's what I wanted to talk about, like dependency. In the mind control is in the basic programming. Let me start with that. So in the basic programming of the mind control of which I was growing up, as well as also in the front life, but the front life, the front parents were part of it, and I shared that already a lot of live streams that they were part of keeping my programming going, although I see them myself as well as victims, and that they did not know all the time what they were doing, except my granddad, because he was really, really nasty, like a tyrant. He was really, really nasty, and that's why the programmers called me also often a slave. Like I'm not sure in these times lately if slave is the right word to express, but it is how I was called. And a slave, what is a slave? A slave answers to the questions of the commanders, of the puppeteers, and it has no own right, it has no own opinion, it cannot act accordingly to what I felt. And that was my basic programming. So the programmers made me dependent on them. And one of the programmers was that female mom, that Queen E, that evil Queen E, and she made me also dependent on her. And she made me dependent on, for example, her, I call it her womb, but it is the symbolism of the womb. They told me I was her daughter. I am a daughter, but she's no longer alive. So that has been told to me. I have seen birth certificates with for me the proof. But what is the proof? And that is by the way, also what I again this week find out a lot, like I hope, I really hope that in this, especially in this year of 2023, where so many things are happening and will happen, I believe in that the dirt will come to the surface of the people who do the bad things, and that the light also is increasing, the light and the energy and the forces of light and the benevolent beings who help everything to put in the light. But I do hope that actually that someone, oh, that would be my day, that someone would come forward and would recognize me. That would be the day, because then I have a proof. And then still, is that a proof? I don't know, but as many of you know, I long for that proof. And I will put the notification. Oh, I put it already off. So it is, and it is the vulnerability in many MKultras who deprogram or have been deprogrammed, that they come. In the first years, the majority of the deprogramming MKultra or the monarch slave or the former super soldier, doesn't matter, but in the first years of deprogramming, the majority want to, I don't say that everyone thinks about that this way, but I recognize a lot in others that they want to have a trial, so that the abusers will be punished for it. And by going to the law enforcement, etc., and to the government and writing letters and so on, and to find justice. Well, justice is a very polluted word in many MKultras and also in my programming. For me, justice, what is for me connected to what is really dependent and what is being independent, that it is justice that everything was scrambled up what could be in the positive. And hopefully evil will destroy itself. Well, in fact, it is. I believe it is already happening, because that's the only thing what I never get and I never will get. And I think that's the good thing about, for me, the proof that I have a consciousness, that these evil forces don't get it, that they serve a false god, so a really dark black god, who in the end also wants to destroy the people he has in his hands here and on earth. And it is a kind of blind spot to not see that they will go down as well, and being symbolically or literally often also sacrificed for that worshipping of specifically the L and the S energy, so Lucifer and Satan. Because that's the purpose of these dark forces and these black army serving people. So, and the black sun, I talked about the black sun as well, but I will never get why it is so important to be dark, because it is a kind of false happiness and a full independency, to come back to that theme, independency and dependency. And I choose, by the way, also this theme because I feel stronger than ever, because my feelings have opened up, and it started with my core above my crown chakra, and then the sun above the core, and that a lot is opening up. And I realized that I also dig up a lot of smaller child altars and child personality remains, but I feel such a craving for independency. But I know now, because I have met the inner whole grown up in me, like integrated and wholeness, that I feel that I am now so craving and that I can now head for independency. So, for example, I would a year ago I would still have incredible nerves and thinking days about connecting. I have written 2 persons who I would love to have for an interview. So I will update you soon. One of them said yes, and I will update you when and who that is. And the other one, I would only a year ago have such nerves, And to give an example of independent and dependency, that I would with this dear friend of mine here, that I would talk with her first, what should I do? And shall we then meditate? That's our way of transforming and then feeling what fits. And that in that stream, and by expressing to each other what happens inside and so on, that I then would make the choice, oh, I will now write this person. But before I would then have written that person, then I would be totally in nerves and even sometimes not dare to write or put it on paper, then put it aside as a draft in my email box. And today I wrote 2 and one of them already responded, and that's a step further. So, and I am not nervous about it, so I don't have any reactions to that, and I am so. That's for me a kind of that I feel I have changed. Delvertje, Max is in search of proof of pizza. You know what? Yes, yeah. Well, I understand that. I get that too. But it is the way, the way, the path, the path how you do it, and that's for everyone unique, and it's also beautiful. I think that everyone has his or her unique way of trying to find the proof. And it is. I think 2023 is a year of which I think a lot of proof will still come more to the surface, because there is an incredible higher frequency going on. And for the people who can feel it, and many of you feel it, and also share this in the chat, that it is so increasing, that incredible energy boost of helping forces. And I feel that so strongly. Let me see. Okay. So, and the dependency and independency, to come back to that. So this is an example of, I almost would say I am more fearless to fearless, fearless. I like that word. Zonder angst, angstloos. Fearless to just follow my feeling. And I know now better than ever what is feelings. Feelings is a completeness of, then also can deal with my behavior towards people, towards situations, find solutions, and so on. And that this is, by the way, why in my live streams I was a couple of times live on my mobile, and that I was just laughing and just doing things like, and that I was laughing at myself, but it is real. And that is all that discovery of now finding out, gosh, I am now, I freed my feeling, and wow, my whole feeling. And that is an incredible journey. But it was a long, long journey. And to come back to dependency and independency. So the programmers don't want any MKultra, any monarch, any super soldier, how you can call it. I don't say that I was a super soldier because I don't like that word, but I was enhanced with AI. And with that AI, I also got more strength in my muscles. But for the majority of part in which I was used, by the way, in the military black ops, was for the psy ops. So for the psychic ops. And with these psychic ops there, it says it all. There I did not have to be muscular, but even, it doesn't matter then, because my psychic abilities enhanced with these AI and AI enforced bodysuit, then I could do also physical things better and stronger. And it is what has been told to me, that I have a connection to Mars. I'm not going to say exactly how and why, but because that Mars connection, that my heart is stronger than related to other, to people on the earth. And that has a reason of which I know of, but maybe I will disclose that in another time. But I already say a lot of things which is maybe hard to believe, and I know you who are always with me do believe me. but it is that I still find out that MKultra is not easy to talk about it, and I say it many times, and it saddens me sometimes that I have to decide to, when I talk about a trauma or a satanic ritual, that I only highlight maybe 4 to 8% of it and not the whole graphic details. I just can't. It's so horrific, but sometimes I want to, and I still, don't think it will. It will. I think people will be, might even be, how you say that, drawn away from listening to my story. So I'm still balancing out what fits, but. Delftje, yes, it is lighter and at the same time more stressed, and there is something with the air other than hay fever, but in a way like hay fever. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it was you, Delftje, but a lot of people have problems with their head. How you say that? Ah, Not Kevin. I had to laugh. I watched the live stream a few weeks back, a few weeks ago, and I said head cavities, and cavities are cavities like holes, like in teeth. So I pronounced that in the wrong way. I apologize, but it is that that's the spaces in the face and so on, and with the nose and the throat. And I myself am still recovering from that flu, and the eyes. Burning eyes, I know a lot more people who are burdened by it. Yeah, but there were also a lot of desert storms and so on, and there is a lot going on in the atmosphere. So, and in my opinion, it's not only because of the scrambling with these. Chemtrail stuff. But I think there is more going on. As well, that the changes are in the firmament and because of the black sun, that the dark forces try to get close to the black sun, and then the whole balance in the whole in space and with the planets and the universe, that it's all an incredible tension for that creation. But to come back to independent and dependency, but the space and everything what is related to each other, like the planets and the sun system and the moon, and the whole thing is all connected, of course, to a certain independency with to each other. And that is like if you bounce on a spider web, then you see the vibrations go everywhere, and that's the same with that these dark forces try to weaken that incredible creators, creativity, creators, creation. But that's my opinion, as many of you already know, and. So this dependency, to come back to that. So it was my life, dependent, being dependent. So this dependency was as well in the front life with the front family, because when I was a teenager, when I was 17 years old, I wanted to go to Munich, to a school which is a bit like conservatory, and I wanted to study music and creativity. So I wanted to study music, and I wanted to draw cartoons, and wanted to learn to paint. And I wanted to go to Munich for that in school. And then I had to leave the house where I was living in the front life, and then I would have to go live in Munich or nearby. Well, that dependency programming was so deep that the front parents as well were acting accordingly to she should never be dependent or free herself if it's not in the plan of the programmers. And what the programmers planned and designed, well, that's also dependency. It's all dependency. And I was so sad when I was not allowed to go to that school, and then I chose for music therapy, which was a good alternative in Nijmegen. But I found out that Nijmegen was perfect for not the front parents, because they still found it hard to let me go. But I came back in that front parents' house, by the way, in that life when I was in Nijmegen, when I was living in dorms, to study there. But in the weekends, I went every weekend back home. Well, it was not really a home, of course, but the front parents' home. Next to that in Nijmegen, I realized was also perfect for the programmers, because Nijmegen I don't know if it's still the case because I'm out of the programming, but that Nijmegen was a pretty central place where also the academic hospital was involved, and a lot of physicians and specialists, of which I also met like a heart specialist and a neurologist, and so on. So it was it was very good for the programmers that I went there. And I had awful times there as well in Nijmegen. And because the fears were kept alive by and making me sad, because I couldn't do what I wanted to do, to go to the school and education I wanted to. Yeah, that was destroyed. So I had there such an awful time. And the music therapy there also went wrong, because I already was heading for a burnout. But then I was headed for the conservatory. So then I chose music, and then I went to the conservatory in Tilburg. That had a great advantage, because then the front parents could help me, like support me, showing like, oh, you are so unhappy there in Nijmegen. Come back home, come back living home. So, and I was feeling so bad that it was for me a relief to be back home. And at the same time, I still recall that I even was sleeping in the bedroom of which the granddad was living before he passed away, but already when I was to Nijmegen, but that I wanted to sleep in his previous bedroom. And now I can connect everything, because in the energy, talking about feelings and the energetic feeling, like in the energy that I was drawn to that dependency. And that is a very important factor. Like I will talk for myself, I was so traumatized as well in the front life, as well as in the programming, of which I did not know about, with all the sexual abuse by this granddad, and the parents, the front parents, and as well as the dad, as the mom. I opened up about that only a few live streams ago, but I think it's very important that it was for me one of the most, and still is one of the most awful memories, because look, I don't have an opinion of if you're drawn or naturally attracted to some female or male. That doesn't matter to me. For me, everyone is unique, but for me, it was a punishment, because it was so awful, and especially because I think it is connected to having been a daughter, and then having being forced to lie down with the mom, and in between the mom and the dad, and it should be said out loud. I think that I had to experience that, and not just one time, but I was for this front dad, I was his wife, his second wife, and I did almost everything in the household when I got older to become a teenager. And then still, when I had my own little house in that same place where the front parents lived, and still the front dad came by, and later on I retrieved these memories, and that he was lying with me in the bed in that little house. I thought I was independent. Fortunately, not the mom, because she was collapsing more and more, and that is very sad. Her programming was breaking, and her abuse past was also so heavy for her to carry. So she divided herself also in more split ups. And it is for me still sad to talk about it, because they were parents for the outside world. They were taking care of me. They were giving me presents. On birthdays, I remember I got incredible, a lot of presents, but it was all for the outside world. Afterwards, for example, afterwards a birthday party, or I was forced to throw up with the eating disorders, or I was forced to give back the presents, or the presents were being put away or broken. Sometimes I found toys which I was given with the birthday, with my own birthday, and then I found my toy somewhere behind the closet or underneath my bed, and then it was broken. That these things happen and that is all to increase dependency. And why? Because as a child, even in the front life, when I was not aware of all the other abuse of my programmers, because I was so by rewarded with gifts on my birthday, and then after the birthday it was taken away. And that creates even more dependency, because I was told and I felt like I was not a good girl. And that was told to me so often, that an aunt came by and I was recovering from and remembering my sexual abuse life in the front life. And then she visited me and that she said, like, why didn't you run to me? Why didn't you run to me for help? And that is, I cannot say that too often enough. It is being threatened every day and night. If you tell someone, we will kill your brother, we will kill your sister. When I got older, I was threatened to, we will kill your child. And that happened too. So then even when I got older and got more personality split-ups, well, then it is even more difficult to speak out. So it is why so many victims and survivors, I think also a lot of survivors don't talk about everything what they had experienced. And even with not to say only sexual abuse, but even the tiny bits of abuse, mental abuse, doesn't matter. It is bad. It should not be there. But I believe that the deep state got so far with the mind control because of the basics, fundament of making every sexual slave like I was dependent on them, on the front parents, dependent on how will others react. And that's a very strong basic fundament of having been a victim. And that is connected to being dependent on. And dependency not only in the material stuff, but as well mentally. Or in the hopes every time when something was taken away, then I hoped I will behave better. I will be a good girl. Besides that, I never disclosed that as well. But I also had many times in my many split up personalities in my front life, I thought that it was normal to lie in between your parents and just to satisfy the dad. That was been told to me. So when I switched to the personality with, for example, friends at school, when I was at school, because I was not there so many times as I thought I was, then it is, of course, a very split up existence. But even when I grew up and had retrieved these memories, I had the hardest thing to cut the ties with the front mom. And even with Queen E, because I recall her as so evil. But the same Queen E also gave me in what I experienced was that there was a lot of time also in her palaces around the earth, because she has several places where she was, and maybe also some were hidden, maybe some were public. I never looked it up because I never wanted to pollute my memories. But that she was, she acted like she was a dearie mum. So then I was sitting with her next to the table. I had long-sleeved silk sleeves, And then she got me biscuits and tea. And that is the confusing thing. So every time it is confusing, but that confusion creates dependency, because in these personality splits, if it was the one who was dependent or the one who wanted to become independent, for example, the one who wanted to go away from as far as possible from the front parents' life, when I wanted to go to Munich to study there for music and art, that she was even driven to become independent. But it pulled to the personalities she did not know about, I did not know about, who were dependent. And that dependency was only fierce. So the one who was acting independent, she torn away as well these dependent personalities. So even when I would have managed to be in Munich to study there, I believe I would have been I would have gone down with my mental health and with my. I think I would have had another burnout, because when that's not cleared, when it's not from within being solved, then you can act as independent from the outside, but from within, the pulling is getting more and more and stronger, because the independency also becomes stronger. And that breaks at a certain moment. And that is, Hey, Clowns Planet. Hey, we talking English today. Yes, indeed. And by the way, of course, it's totally fine if people want to write or ask me something in Dutch, in Nederlands. And even German, I mean, that's totally fine, of course. Don't break, be happy. Don't break, be happy. Yeah, well, don't break. Well, sometimes break, it depends on what you break. Oh, speaking of break, I was... behind me is that projector. That is a giant projector screen. And I was trying to try out if it would work as a nice screen behind me. And then I had it here. But it was so awful. One black wall. And then suddenly that thing, which is a very sharp, very tightened spring. And then it got loose, and then it was dropped on my thumb. and it was so painful that I almost thought like, oh gosh, oh boy, I have a live stream in a few hours, and maybe I've broken my thumb. But then I said hello to all the cells, to all the physical cells, like heal, and put it in cold water for a while, and now it's fixed. But oh, I was really shocked. It was painful. I really felt like I have to go to the emergency room, but I was saved by my I seem to have very hard bone structure, which is only an advantage, I believe. But hello, DJ Mindhacker. Oh boy, a poem. Oh boy, a poem of DJ Mindhacker. You're poetic. So that dependency and independency. And so that is then when I connect it to the here and now with being now that independent woman of which I feel very slime ball, of which I now feel very freed. With now the grown-ups, and it started because I had these 3 inner queens in me liberated, and queens in a personality system, by the way, are, I don't like talking about high level. What is high level? But if you see a design of mind control, then the tiny little baby personalities are the splits. And then you have the younger children, then you have the young teenagers, the older teenagers, the young adults, the adults, and the queens are then actually on the top. So if you have that retrieved in deprogramming, then you're pretty far. So if there are people who are deprogramming and ask for if there are inner queens in your system, but warning, do it together with a loved one and someone you trust, because you never know if there are booby traps built in, and every mind controlled programmed one has booby traps. And that is maybe I will talk about that maybe after the break, but I want to continue with dependency and independency. DJ Mindhacker, oh, it is an English stream, says Nederlands. Oh, is it? Oh, that's weird. Because it is English title on Twitch. I don't get that. Wait, I can change it, but thanks. Thanks for the feedback. That happens sometimes with Twitch. Can I still change it? I hope so. Okay. Hey, thanks, DJ. Thanks, DJ Mindhacker, for clarifying this. Hey, Tineke Jessie, welcome. So, dependency. I talked about dependency, independency. My tea has been cold. And now maybe it's time for the lights now, because now I'm in the dark, but... wait, I will put on the light, but... well, I will leave it. I will put on this light. Wait. This is the selenite bowl with the colors, and I love selenite. So, okay. I love certain lightings. So, dependency, independency. Well, then when I started to deprogramming, so maybe I skip from past, I'm a bit laughing about the chat. I will not pronounce it out loud. It is. But, so, because otherwise I'm out of my train of thought, so I have to concentrate on my story, that I will skip from here and now to the past, to the front life, as well as to the mind control life. And I hope that it will be clear enough that you can also follow me in this storyline, because it is a lot of skipping, because this mind control and the dependency, independency, that is so strongly embedded in every MKultra and who has mind control like I did, for sure. And also with sexual abuse and abuse, it is a basics of making the one who is under mind control and under enslavement, make her or him dependent. That's very important. Dependent of the programmers. Let me see if I can change a bit the lighting. Wait. I have all sorts. So this one is better, I think. Yeah, it's okay. So that independent and that dependency. Of course, the traumas are related to that. With the black operations I was forced to do, I had so often have been trained to choose. There is, by programming, it's done to as well connected to the dependency and independency. The dependency is very important, and my training, especially for the black ops, was all the time that I was brought to even war zones, and I was already very little. And I was brought to war zones because I still recall very vividly Afghanistan, amongst others. I was a lot there in the cave systems and in, they always called it Vietnam, and it's now called differently, of course, Korea. But certain spots in Korea and also the swamps there, and there are many caves underneath there, and there I was programmed with. And it was also handy because there was then war going on, and then I was forced to witness war zones, and where war was happened, or was at the time happening, and I was forced, and I know it sounds bizarre, but I chose to talk about it. This part of the Black Ops I had to face, that I was very little when I was already trained to watch war situations. And I know it sounds bizarre, but the mind, like the mind and the soul, um, for a mind control, total mind control like me, I was programmed for, that is a different brain, a brain development. And there is a difference in that. And that is one significant thing about it, why I could deal with it even as little as I was. And I was also, as toddler, already trained to survive so many horrific things, like being put in small spots, in small holes, in the dark. I was put in fridges, in refrigerators, in freezers, in cellars, in dark holes, water pits, and not one time, no. Every time when I was with the programmers, but specifically when I was very little, then I was taught the way. So I also learned to deal with it in that specific child personality. But then I come back to the dependency and independency. Like in the programming, there were child personalities in me who were the tough ones. Like I am that tiny soldier, and I will go for the deep state working. But I, as a child, did not know I was working for the deep state. I was told I was working for a better world. I was told that I was working for my family, for getting a better world, and so on. So the programmers, they just repeated over and over and over. Yeah, but you are the good guy. You are the good girl. So that's also brainwashing. Maybe you know from the movie I think it was Clockwork's Orange, in which you see someone who's sitting in the audience who was forced to watch a movie screen, and that his eyes were put wide open with certain, how you say that, clemmages? What is clem in English? It's a tiny frame of which to keep the eyes open. And that is why eyes wide open, was a long time a major trigger for me, because my eyes could not wink. And by that the eyes cannot wink, that does something specific to the brains. And a lot of my child personalities who were trained for the black operations were traumatized with this, by their eyes pulled wide open, and then I was forced to look at things, and also things on projector screens. Maybe that's why that thing bumped on my thumb, because maybe my past energies in me hate it. With projector screens, I had to watch that so often, but well, I don't feel any fear any longer for projector screens, but maybe it was kind of unconscious that it fell on my thumb. And it is again that dependency, independency. So in opposite of every child personality, and I'm talking now about how I was trained for the black operations, like I had to crawl through tiny caves. I also recall that I was at ocean bottoms, and I was putting down in a kind of compression room, and then I was going a few meters down, and then I had to adjust, and then sometimes I felt through what I got through the oxygen, that also the oxygen changed. It was just a different feeling, that I felt a bit like, ooh, I'm starting to a bit feel woozy, and then how can I explain that the weight of the oxygen changed. I don't know if I can explain it in a way that you can understand. And then I was lowered down, and then I was put in cavities to also find my way with pressure, several pressures. But all these several traumas were specifically connected to a dependent personality part, a dependent personality child personality, if you know what I mean. In opposite of that, there was always a kind of twin personality of the same age from already when I was very little, who was independent. And she was the fearless. She was actually carrying this dependent personality in her. But because she was the fearless one, that she could deal with the situations and every kind of situations of which I now think like, if I would have been forced now to do it, I would not make it. But at times, in my front life, when I was also already deprogramming, sometimes my power came forward. Like I was robbed one time in Amsterdam, in Derde Oosterpark Street. And there I was robbed by two persons on a scooter. And I was wanting to put my money in the fee for the car, to park the car. I was visiting a friend. And then suddenly I was standing there too long with my cash money, and then that scooter came by with two persons, and they pulled my wallet and wanted to pull out the money, and then I pulled at them, so I was drawn literally 100 meters further behind the scooter, and they let go. So, yeah, these things happened, and. Other times that I could just, when there was an accident and someone was lying on the street and was lying flat on the street, and then immediately I went there and gave emergency help. But in between and in a personality like that is again like every personality who acted independent, because I'm now of course whole and now so far deprogrammed. That in every independent personality there is put in this dependent personality who had, for example, the opposite experience. So in that story of that I pulled at that scooter with the two men, and they were totally flabbergasted that I even hung to them, that I clung to him, and I did not let go, and they had to let go my wallet. But that inside this personality who was extremely in fears of even standing up for herself by being robbed. So she was actually being robbed. And that's that example of that personality who was given a present and then taken away after the birthday. So that is how personalities actually are being set up. So a personality, in my experience, since I deprogrammed and now know so much about how my mind control programming was set up, that even the mind-controlled ones who look like fearless soldiers or are very brave, etc., all of them have a very vulnerable dependent part. And often the dependent part and personality stays young. So, for example, I had a Black Ops, a military personality who could invisibly approach a target. Yeah, I will say it a bit in an integer way because I'm not proud of what I had to do. And that I had to approach invisibly a target. And I was taught that way, to walk through forest and just to learn how to, even with my enhanced AI, that I could also feel and hear every noise. But I was so taught to be invisible and I could approach a target. But within me, for example, there was a little inner child who had to run through... I know, I lost that word, a maze. And if you know the movie Maze Runner, I had to experience things like that. That was my training, like Maze Runner and Hunger Games. In the Hunger Games movies and in the Maze Runner, there are many things what I was forced to do. So that inner little child was already, for example, one of my Black Ops making myself dependent and to put in my older as well as my growing up Black Ops personalities. I will explain that later. but that I talked about it maybe already earlier, that I was put in a maze, and I had to act like I was a rat. And that was based as well and could be triggered by a very innocent a Dutch television program, it had a tiny maze and it was a quiz, and that rats, no, not rats, but marmotten. I forgot the words for marmotten. I have to look it up. If someone knows the English word for marmotten, and I would love to know. And that was a famous Dutch television quiz in the Netherlands. And it was to call up personalities. And these tiny animals, guinea pigs. Oh, thanks so much, Delvertje. I remember now that it came by earlier. So these guinea pigs, that they had names, and that the quiz master, I think it was called that way as well in America, in the US, or in England, and that the quiz master then said, like, which of the names you want, and then they had these names like very innocent, and a lot of these guinea pigs were named after famous Dutch people or artists, or, well, doesn't matter. And then the candidates had to pick a name and a guinea pig. Well, it goes that far that then a personality could be called up in me to be called up for a black op. But to come back to what was put within my black ops soldier programming, that a tiny little one was forced to run like a rat or a guinea pig through a mini maze. And when I grew up, then it was enlarged. But as many of you know, with the mind control, it's important that the sooner they start with the programmer, the little I was, the better. And very repeating it often and often as often as possible. And in my Dutch front life, I was also triggered and traumatized with that, with the front family and the front parents. And sometimes I believe they even didn't know, but that I was put in the front family life. I was put in the fridge as well and in the cellar, and that was all to call up as well these horrific traumas, and that I would feel dependent, and that no one would ever come to the surface with showing up and talking about what I really was forced to do. And of course, in the Black Ops, I met a lot of people who were very famous in all sorts of ways. Some were really evil also in the world, and some were, a bit neutral, and some I did not know. But, and that's, I know there are still files in me of the military part, in me, in the military programming, which maybe I will not retrieve them ever, and maybe that's better too. And of course, I am also getting older, so is it still important to get it to the surface? I started to learn to let go of wanting to know, because in the first years of the deprogramming, I wanted already to talk about it and put the people behind bars who were abusing me, and many of them were world leaders, and so on. So, but it is not so. So then you get what I wanted to say. It's not so simple to explain how I could do these things. So I was so put in a mind trick. It's literally mind tricking, and especially when personalities in me, like when I was even a young adult and an adult when I did these black operations, that then still there was within me these personalities, and it could be more than one, who was made dependent and totally in fears, and carried these traumas. And if that was fed from within like that, and the outside personality was fearless and just doing according what was ordered by my military commanders. And I hope in this way I could explain a bit the dependency and independency also connected to the Black Ops, and what is important is that in some MK Ultras or even super soldiers, I can see it in the eyes, I can see it in the energy, that it is the toughest thing is to really heal and get to the surface the most tiny parts who were made the most dependent, the dependent of the programmers, like what I told you, like dependent of approval and doing the good thing, thinking you did good and then you will be rewarded, and what happens? You're being punished. So next time I try to do my best of the best, and then I got even more punished. So what did I do afterwards? Maybe that sounds weird, but I try to do even more my best. And then there is more and more distance from feeling. So that is why a personality like that stops growing up inside. As the example that Black Ops personality does grow up, but it is so enhanced with traumas that personality freezes in age, and often the programmers then choose to create a new personality, by the way, because it is like houdbaarheidsdatum. What is English for houdbaarheidsdatum? I don't know. I always know that word, and now I don't know the houdbaarheidsdatum in English. But it is 10 to 9. We will go for a break, and I will play some music and put on some lights. And I really think I did not go live on... no, Facebook did not go along with Indevini and Tivop. So, well, it's okay. You are all here, so, and everyone can rewatch it, of course. But I apologize for the ones who maybe found out later on Indevini and Tivop and on my other Facebook pages. So let's go for a break. And also the people on Rumble, welcome everyone, by the way. I see 23 people are watching. Welcome everyone. If you have questions, by the way, you can put it in the chat. I don't see anyone in the chat being active, but you're welcome, of course, to ask me anything. Expiry date, expiration date, expire date. Thanks, Into and Yvonne Groot. Thank you so much. So, again, now it's the... How many times did I say I will take a break? Now I will take a break. And I also need to fill up my tea. Oh, let's see. And that rhymes. Why can't I find it now? Oh, man. I have it here. Short break. Okay, some music, and I will take a break, and I will continue at 9, approximately. So I will choose, and a music. I hope you hear the music. So I will check now if I can put up that projector screen, that big black thing behind me. All right, I'll be back. One more song. I see you standing. Disco. Klaus Planet Disco. Well, hey, no music. Now, didn't you all fall asleep with the last one? I love that song, but it is pretty sleep enhancing, I think. And I checked on my YouTube, English YouTube, and it's not live there either. And here I'm online on my English live and my English YouTube. So, for all the people from abroad who like to have a pure only English with my English, all my English spoken live streams, please subscribe to that channel too. It is called Monique Wallace too, and I have in Twitch, if I do that right, I have the command for that. Oh, so sorry. Oh man. And yeah, I would say look me up there, but because in the Monique Wallace YouTube, I will in the end of 2023 will go there into full Dutch, because it's so confusing for me. Like also earlier, I think it was Clown's Planet or DJ Mindhacker. I'm not sure who that was, but who mentioned me that it was put on Dutch on Twitch. And those confusions happen, or Twitch changes it, or YouTube changes it. So now I get easier found when it's pure English or pure Dutch. So that's why this long story to explain, like if you don't want to miss any English live streams, specifically live streams and uploads, then please subscribe to that Monique Wallace 2 channel. And it's also on my bio.link, by the way. So I forgot what my bio was, but so I put it in the chat, and yeah, I would love to grow as channel, so. And I said already in the beginning, I approached two people in one of my live talk shows, and one of them said yes, and it's now about getting the right time and date and time zone. So that's I will keep you updated in that, of course, and get more clarity, give you more clarity about what subject and so on, what the talk will be about. But I'm very eager, to try out more, and maybe for you also interesting to find out and to get to know more about this subject. So, I will. It's a bit a teaser for everyone, and it will be in English, that's for sure, English language. But it's a pity that Monique Wallace too didn't go along with it. So, well, I will close off that player. Oh boy, oops, I did something wrong. Okay, so to continue with, I see no questions. It's an easy, quiet chat, but I believe it is also holidays, May holidays in the Netherlands, I'm not sure. But I see that's still bright. Is the light too bright, everyone, or is it okay? Okay, I was talking about dependency and independency, and then I will continue to maybe more of a black ops and so on, because my wish is to talk more about what I was forced to do in these black operations, and get more that I hope to give you more insight in how it was possible that I did all these things while I have not the physique of a military person, and I know that I don't have the soldiers, and I did not exercise enough as well in all these programming years. That's another story. And healing from eating disorders. Now, 20 plus years deprogramming. That's, of course, giving me a total different body, and all the integrating of the personalities as well. That's an important ingredient as well of becoming whole. Like all these personalities who are now in one body and get to know each other and are now as a whole personality, which is me, Monique. Well, then the body also changes. By the way, that happens. That's just a consequence of it as well. And I remember that I saw from one former MKultra that he was actually a bit sad about it, that he lost some things which he could do in the programming and lost it when he was whole. And I get it. I sometimes wanted to, I wish I could show you now the military part in me, like, okay, here I am, the soldier, but it's just not the reality. It's not happening, I think. So, yeah. And dependency, independency. Then I will make a bridge to the dependency and independency theme related to the deprogramming, because when I started to deprogramming, and I always stayed an independent woman. I started this live stream with that from the outside, no one ever saw me different, in a different way, or that I lost my behavior as being that independent woman, not even when I did not even recall and remembered my programming layers. So, and that's the undetectable mind control, full mind control slave, as Fritz Springmeier mentions it in his book, which he was very brave to be brought out, I believe already in end of 80s. He was very brave to talk about very significant codings. If some of you really want to read and it's heavy material to read how a full mind control, like I was from the start, is being traumatized, is being programmed. Then I would advise you to read that ebook. You can download it for free, or, well, to support the author, of course, it's better to buy it. But it's a huge, thick, broad book. But it's amazing to get to know as well the journey, because what you read then is basically what I had to experience. So I would really advise to read that if you like reading as well. Of course, not everyone likes reading, and it's a giant thing to go through. So, and if you're former MKultra or are deprogramming, then be careful to read this book, because it can extremely trigger a lot. So I only started to read it when I was ready for it. And then still I talked about it with my support here, if I would be ready enough. And then also talk about, of course, the reactions to it. But at the dependency and independency, when I was first deprogramming, and that was the deprogramming of the first layers of the front life, so Dutch life. I lived in the Nederlands, for the people from abroad, and on Rumble, for who I may be new to, that I started to recall my first years of, that I was abused and sexually abused by the Dutch front life and front family. There it started. And when I started to meet this dear friend who took me under her wings and literally in her house to further deprogram, then I had a feeling like I can now easier be independent and very quicker independent by choosing to be dependent. Why is that? Because when I said yes to that, she said to me, like, Monique, you should now be at all times living with someone, because I was still pulled from the streets, and I was still in a programming, and in 2010 I was still in the US active with the president at the time, American president there. So she said, Monique, you have to just choose to give up everything and just live with me. And that was a choice of becoming dependent. What I initially thought was that I was only a few years deprogramming, and that I then could pick up my life again, not knowing that it would be until still here and now. But I'm now, more and more, I'm more and more independent, of course, in these, I would say in a phase to more and more get out of the house here and out of this situation. But the longing to get out of this situation is already years and years going on. And especially that grows because I got stronger and stronger innerly and more whole. So, for me it was of course a longing which grew and grew and grew. But that dependency was so heavy here that I never expected to be confronted with that it even triggered programming layers. And that is why this choosing for dependency, and dependency also in the material way, especially in the material way, that caused to trigger all these inner personalities in me who wanted to go out and never want to be dependent. Because being dependent, an example is asking for food in the house, or asking for example, new clothings. I still have a hard time to ask for things. Well, my dear friend here knows that it's still hard for me, because I want to be independent, and I think it's a good, for me, I like that, because I wouldn't want it the other way around, like I would grab and ask and ask. No, I have hard time to ask for even still new clothings or something what is needed for live streaming and so on. So I live very sober and not to defend myself, but it is really the case. And I like that, because otherwise I would not feel good at all. But the dependency triggered the programmers who specifically then burst out. So in this way it works, deprogramming, to be dependent. But the other way is that my cravings to be independent only grew. So that tension is so incredible, amazing on its own to go through. And also in living together here with just friends together, and later on some other person came living here, and because of the private situation, and he still lives here, and it goes very well. But the tension of sometimes me craving for independency and having to divide space, it is quite an exercise every day to get up and then think like every day I will get further in deprogramming. So I understand that some people who do deprogramming, that they don't want to live in one roof with someone else, because then that can trigger their inner hidden programmed layers who are still in dormant way, still lying there in the subconscious. But I would advise for everyone who's deprogramming, go live with someone else. And someone else, not someone who is only loving and caring, but loving and caring in the way of also being honest. Like if he or she feels like, hey, there is something in your behavior not really, it doesn't feel normal, or what is normal, but it doesn't feel right, that this person then as well can be very clear and in the face, look each other in the eyes and say, hey, Monique, what there's something weird, there's something bizarre in your behavior. Like I often talk about the laundry, doing the laundry. Like at times I can do the laundry, and at other times it triggers too much what I had to undergo and what I had to witness with laundry machines. And those things I can accept now, that it is the case. And maybe even when I am independent enough, then, who knows, that I then can just say, like, someone else will do the laundry. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it will get better, and how I will enjoy being independent, because that's the other side. If you live in dependency for so long, then it's great to live independency. And it's like with now I freed my feelings, and it's an incredible journey to now feel, having freed my feelings. And it is, I use the word amazing a lot, but it feels amazing to live the feelings, and that was always my wish, to be whole, and that is happening now. So, and that's very joyful, of course, and that is why I choose to talk about dependent and dependency. That it is a major polarity, but the dependency is still. Actually, I wanted to do these two examples. That, for example, in the programming, it's being used as polarity. But I use it also in the deprogramming now for 20 plus years to dig up in a quick way my inner hidden programmed layers. And it worked. So maybe not for others, but for me, it surely worked. So I'm very happy with that, of course. And So, let me see. Okay. And then another thing what I wanted to talk about is what the balance. So because of all these polarities and where I went through, and as well with all the deep feelings and so on, that I realized that this is what it is to have balance, so inner balance. So I learned more and more to find out, to balance, if I now notice something which is still dependent or wants to because I'm craving to now live and go outside and go with my mobile, interactive with you all and go live and live streaming and so on. So I so strongly want to live, and I learn now more to balance these two polarities, dependency and independency, and it's great. It's great to feel and to live this balance and more. It's like a celebration. I can now understand people who say that life is a celebration or a dance in polarities. I start to realize now more and more how incredible journey that is. So it's quiet in the chat, I noticed, but it's I do feel that I am not live on my other Facebook platforms. And sometimes that happens, that Facebook is not going live. I cannot push that live button. That's weird. Connect streaming software to go live. No, I don't get it, but yeah, that happens sometimes. And I see no questions, and you all know I love questions. And it's very quiet in the chat tonight. But maybe a lot of people don't like the English talking as well. That's also possible, of course. And that's fine. You don't have to say anything in the chat. So, what I also wanted to talk about was, I wanted to go in interaction with you. And I'm earlier done with the dependency and dependency and independently living. So I will think of a subject what I can talk about. Maybe you have a certain subject what you like to get to know more about if it's concerning mind control. I love to hear that, of course. Meanwhile, I take a sip of the tea. I will decide to continue to talk about as well about my black ops parts and personalities. And I mentioned earlier, and that's still a bit the theme of being dependent and independently. Like, for example, I know that I was in Korea and that there was a tiny family, just a father, a mother, and some children. And I was brought to it was a very tiny hut. And I still can draw like how that hut looked like, and that I had a choice. Like, and this is very hard for me to talk about it, but these things happen, and I was forced to do because I was in a personality. It's like I was forced to choose from two bad choices. For example, I think I think it's hard for me to talk about it, but what I was forced to do. But I had to choose between the parents or the children. And I cannot say what I was forced to do, but I had to choose between them. And then I made a choice, and the choice was never a good one, but it was at least not the children. And I cannot say what I was forced to do. But that's a part of what I was forced to do, and I have to live with. And I will always feel guilty about that. And but it creates a trauma, and it creates even more dependency, because I choose always the wrong choice. Because my consciousness inside, which is the core is the one who has the consciousness. And there is, by the way, in MKultra, it's like babushka puppets. You have, for example, 8 puppets, and these are personalities. And layer, smaller puppet, and a smaller puppet, and a smaller puppet, and so on, and so on. But eventually there is always someone in the center who has that consciousness about, I don't want to do this. And in the black operation, but that is for me the hardest thing to talk about it. Maybe I will one day talk about it, but that I was forced to end lives, to do black operations in which I was forced to end lives. Now I've said it. And that consciousness, that is so hard to explain, that from the outside layers that I was forced to do these operations and these acts like I was a robot. But from within there was a consciousness in me screaming like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And I heard myself at times scream from within. But then the outer personality was like a robot, like a military robot, just acting accordingly to the programmers and to my commanders, while from the inside I heard myself scream. And that robotic military personality did not do anything, because it was in a kind of a frozen situation. And that is so hard to explain. How did I not prevent myself from not doing it? And my dear friend here says every time when I say that I feel so guilty about what I was forced to do, that she said, you forget one thing you were forced to do, and you couldn't do anything else than do what you did, because you were their slave. And that's going back to again being dependent. That's the toughest thing to transform and to integrate, by the way, in the deprogramming, to finally get really independent and feel like you're free to do whatever you want without feeling guilty. And I'm still feeling guilty, like also my some of my dear friends, and one of them I still have, she knows what I had to do. And she also says, but you couldn't do anything about it. If you would have said no, then they would have ended your life. And I know that, or that of my family, or family members. But still, the guilt will never go away. And I did read one book about the former MKultra, but she was specifically programmed for, also to do black operations with guns, etc. And I recognized a lot of that in her. That survivor's guilt is one of the worst things to deal with. But I will live with it, and I decided to live with it. And now I think I have said it for the first time, that I was forced to end other people's lives. And I can tell far more about that, but that's the only thing what I will talk about in this subject about. So hey Jos Schover, welcome. You give a variation in the chat. It is so empty in the chat. I'm not used to that, but it's okay. But I like interacting with you. Yvonne Groot, it's not your fault. No, that's so sweet, Yvonne. Yeah, I know that. But it is for me very, I don't know why I get so emotional, but it's tough, you know? It is, I never show my emotions around that, but this specific example of being in Korea, and I still see the mother and dad standing there with the two children, and they looked at me, and they asked me also to take them instead of the children. But that will haunt me forever. And it's Delgy, this is the saddest thing to hear. It seems to me that it's a heavy burden. Yes, it is. It is. And I hardly ever can show my emotions about it. And that is then another thing in that subject is that it was in satanic rituals as well, but then it were very tiny babies, and that is something what that is unheard of. I know, and I feel very ashamed to talk about it, but it was my life, and I still cannot cry about it when I say it to someone, because I feel then too much like a wall around me, like even to dare to say it. But I think it's important to talk about it openly, because this is this world, in my opinion, it is still happening. and that too many innocent children and people are being literally murdered and killed because of that. Some in the world, and still many people decide to choose for the heavy stuff like Satan and Lucifer, and serve these dark forces. And I wish it would change, that the people would stand up and say no. Delvertje, I heard some other survivors tell the same, yeah. And possibly also the survivors' guilt. And that's the hardest thing, because I am even scared I know a very, which has a bit more extended memory of a certain Black Op, and then there was also Black Widow in a Black Op, and then it was in a theater, and I had an operation going on, and I had to end a life of a man who was there. And I still can feel how it felt. So some memories I still physically can recall, but I'm not in a reliving. But I can recall everything, how he felt, what he wore. It is, but maybe it's good to talk about it. Jos, your aura is incredibly strong now, Monique. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I just now felt a bit insecure because I did not see anyone in the chat, and I missed you talking here in the chat. It's weird, and then I think like, what am I doing? I just continue and talk about it, and finally lift that feel of what I was forced to do, and then still I have no proof. I know. Well, I have proof in, I know some people who knew me, but their privacy is very important to me, so I will never disclose who they are. And that's, again, talking about dependent and dependency. It is so hard as former MKultra to even talk about. I know that a lot of victims or survivors are trying to get trials for people who abused them and sexually abused them and trafficked them in satanic rituals. And I feel I wish some proof came forward, even that someone would recognize me and would acknowledge, I knew this, Monique. That would be so, I think, that is my wish, that would happen. And of course, some abusers or sexual abusers, and there are many examples who are being trialed and that there is proof that they abused. And a certain island is involved with it. Well, you all know who I mean, but. And the inspiration has also risen, as I see, Monique. It is. It is a hard subject for me to talk about, and especially also with the babies in the rituals. And it was a lot that happened a lot with the black and the white Pope. And the Vatican is an incredible important, one of the most, I would almost say the most important center of opening black portals. And through the frequency there, and I see energetically still portals being opened. So for me, it's not done yet. And I was there with the most horrific rituals in which not one but many babies were killed. And I was involved in that. I was forced in that too, in the role of Black Widow, but also in the cat altars and so on. So it is. And I had relivings of it here with my dear friend here. Otherwise, I would not even could be able to talk about it. But I can talk about it because I can create a protection wall around me that I'm not getting emotional. But I do feel my emotions from within, because when I talk about it, I see the images again, and it has to stop. There has to be a way that it can stop, that it will stop, that we can stop this. And I think it is by talking about it, but I hope in telling my story that people who were serving even Lucifer or Satan and are now recovering, also in a way deprogramming from their deep state life, that I think it's important that we start to recognize each other and that we start to be brave in let's go for it, recognize each other and not being scared any longer to trigger each other. Because again, the dependent and dependency subject, I was told so many years already in deprogramming, you should never contact any MKultra or former MKultra or mind-controlled one because you can trigger each other, which is also a significant, important detail. But it should stop, this abuse of children, and it should stop. And world leaders who can still lead the world in the direction of disasters and a certain country. I love the people there. I was in China, in Japan, and I loved the Chinese and the Japanese people. But it's an example for how the whole world should be. That's what I saw in the plans. I saw whole cities in the plans I witnessed of being closed off, like what has been done in China with this certain thing, what they threw in this world. And I'm not discussing about if it was a real disease or not. That's for me not the most important thing. It's about I saw what happened there in the plans in going to the West. So, and I still see too many people who lead in the world who are still in the position of leading the world. So, yeah, there should be a way out of this, I think, and specifically as former MKultra people and mind control. Yeah, that's what I was thinking out lately. Like connect. But yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like it is a pretty, it's actually pretty. It's a bit a problem because MK Ultras who are do deprogramming have their hands full on deprogramming. I was as well. And at the same time, I think it's important that former also deep state bloodlines, etc., that they connect former MK Ultras, and that, yeah, I think it could be a way also to give the world proof that then we joined, like supposedly that I would do a lecture and I would say invite someone who was in the programming or in how I say that from the deep state, literally working from the deep state very consciously. What would it do if we both would be there on that stage, for example, do a lecture in harmony with each other and talking about it? Then two worlds would come together. Two different worlds, in fact, would then come together, and that would be the day if that would happen. And I would certainly say yes to a challenge like that. So, but it's just an idea. I'm very inspired by that, and this is also why I connected with two people I wrote from abroad to be a guest in my live stream, and I will soon tell you if it worked out. And one of them said yes, but it's still then connecting and finding a date and a time zone thing. And yeah, I hope it will work out, but I'm very anxious about it to do that, and that is my way of then connecting. But there should be a way that it can connect and like a ripple effect. But I'm lately really busy with that within me. Like how how can that roll? Without calling for something, like, and I will never, never, ever want violence. But I think I have the right to say no to things and to speak out, the freedom of speech. So, yeah, I'm very inspired by that. I'm very inspired by that. Thank you, Delvertje, for the hearts. Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Would it be a great idea? I think so. That a former deep state programmer, already also deprogrammed and wanting to go for the good and the light, of course, that's very important, but then both of us both on stage. It doesn't have to be me, but I wanna take the challenge, yeah, for sure. Who knows what will happen in the future? Sputniki, that day will come, Monique. Yeah, maybe by. That's, by the way, also the reason why I do these English live streams. I still get messages from very dear people who say, like, why are you still continuing these English live streams? Well, there are mainly Dutch in the chats, but it is because English is more well known than Dutch. I mean, if New York, New Amsterdam would have been different, then everyone would have spoken Dutch, and it would have been very easy for me. But English is more approachable. That's a fact, and I can start streaming. Well, in German, I still want to find a date, but it is about what is the right time in a daytime and so on. So. But English is more approachable, as I said, and people do ask me also from English-speaking countries, like, continue, and they want even more about more English spoken. So, and it's funny that my English YouTube is not live, and it's live here in Prism. So, yeah, I still don't get it, but. Yeah, so me being driven by freedom and that would be the day that this now surfaces, this about satanic rituals, this programming, also off planet, that it is all there, that it is happening, and then all to keep it from the people, from humanity. That would be the day for me. I hope I will live the day that it will, in the majority of the people around the world, that it will enter as in the consciousness how real it is, this satanic abuse. Also in the Netherlands, huh? Someone sent me an article which was great, and about a certain ship of a certain royalty, and that caused me to have flashes again. So, yeah, it should stop. And then, in a way, that it's not calling up for any violence, and I am also not waiting for that I will pronounce any names of abusers, because it's not safe. So I am very aware of that, how it is all impossible, but it should stop. It has to stop. Yeah, I know you all agree. Oh, Delvertje, the best possible King's Day will be the coming out of this MKultra stuff within their circle. Oh, Delvertje, I know what you mean. Well, exactly. That's an example. Wouldn't it be so incredibly great if someone from which abuse world it is, but one of the higher elite world, let's say it like that. I will not specifically go into the King's Day, etc., because I have my own opinion on that. And but that would be the day if someone would walk with me on that stage and talk about it. That these two worlds joined together in their own stories and acknowledge both stories. I think then something only has been cut through, like that something happens and then something can change, because I know people come out with stories like I do, and some people even mention names. I know that. But I just choose not to. And I think it's still the best decision. But of course, because that's, now I'm ranting. I'm a human too. I really want to scream out, this person has abused me, and he is with it, and she is with it in the deep state, and abused me, and sexually abused me, and this girl and this boy or this man, this woman is my child. But I will not do that. Yeah, that's my choice. I can't. It's not safe. I know who they are, and that makes it so like a circular which I cannot go out, because it's a fact for me. Yeah, it's, how do you say that? It's a kind of how do you say that when you are in the circle which you cannot go step out, because it is impossible to step out of this circle. And yeah, and I will not celebrate King's Day. Devil, you're trapped. Yeah, and I know I shouldn't, to come back to dependency and independency as independent personality, whole with my core, and freeing my feelings and in love and everything. And I should be able to talk about it. And still I know a big no. No, no, it's not safe. Yeah. And there are many brave people who do mention names, and are putting people to trial. And there are people being put in jail because, and then abroad, there are some examples, and they have the proof. And then I am again confronted with, I have no proof. And I say it often here to my friend, like, I wish I was not so sexually abused and used by many of the world leaders now still, and a big part in what has happened last years. And I have no proof, but I knew these people personally. I was their slave. I was their, yeah. And that makes me that I cannot talk about it, because they are these people I knew. So sometimes I wish I did not know them. And it's not one, no. And I talk about it in many live streams. I met from the past half 70s every president of the US. I was their slave. Yeah. And I cannot mention names, and now I say already a lot, but I have no proof. So yeah, it is. I wish sometimes that I was not in these circles. Oh man, I'm ranting now, but yeah. Jos, our brains are the same building blocks as the universe, only we don't see it or don't want to see it, Monique. And you mean the people who can't see it, Jos, the truth? Because now, because I have to think about a certain, for example, I will keep it in general because I don't want to be too specific. But like celebrating someone who is a leader of a country with a crown. Every year when that happens, my heart cries, because it is happening. That this is a celebration in some country, of which I know that these are evil people. And then, like a major city, for example, somewhere, And I was once in the middle. I did once celebrate a certain day of a certain high up elite. And I did choose there because these friends took me there while as a surprise, which was nice, on a little boat. And then I was going through the canals, etc. And then everyone was celebrating, and I was just sad because it's still in the behavior of people to then celebrate. And it is for every, I think for every MKultra or monarch, former slave or former mind controlled, that is so hard because society continues to live these rituals which give joy as well, huh? Because I had friends who celebrate these yearly celebrations in the towns, and I know that also the middenstand, the people who earn their money with the cafes and food and the children on the market selling things on that special day. It's great. It's an incredible fun. But it's for me the saddest day because it is connected to a certain group. I have to be careful. And it's very hard, and it should be said, you know? It is hard to, yeah. I'm ranting tonight. I'm sorry. But I am very happy. Very happy. As well. Very happy. So, yeah. Yes, people can't see it or don't want to understand it. Yes, yes. It's the same with a certain color, like a certain color of a certain country which celebrates a certain person every year. And it's a certain color. Yeah, I just can't. I can't go along with it. And that makes me even more different. Yvonne, they are brainwashed, yeah. But I do see also the fun. Like I have a little boy here in the house who's a guest here, and I have so much fun with him. And he's staying here for a week, what never happened before. And it is rarely that someone visits here the house because of, yeah, I am deprogramming. People didn't understand any longer why I live with a friend, and that she goes with a full-hearted, fully with me helping deprogramming, because she says every time I also help myself and transform myself, which is the case. And that little guy is so happy to sell second-hand stuff, you know, and I don't want to ruin that joy, but it is a very complex thing. So if it's not starting with the root where it is happening, yeah, that's my opinion. Saying no to evil, that's my message. In a peaceful way, and I'm not calling up for anything, just saying no. I think I have the right to say no. And I feel that a lot of people don't dare to say no any longer. And not you, but who are in the resistance and etc. know about, consciousness and so on. But it's like a certain worldly mind control to that you should not say no any longer. Yes to everything. Yes, man. That is a movie, I guess. I forgot what it was, but the Yes Man. Yes Man and the Yes Woman. Yeah, Jos, man is the universe and our heart food. Food is the universe. Man is the universe and our heart food is the moon universe. Yvonne, make love, not war. yeah, that's a nice one too, huh? There's someone, I forgot the name, who said, like, I love that expression, like, can we please make, man, I always know that expression. Oh yeah, can we please get along with it? Can we please get along with each other? Like, I like that one too. And decentralization, many things I'm a fan of. But I'm so looking forward for that it will break, that a former deep state programmer, for example, and a former deep state slave or mind controlled can stand together in a story. That would be the day. Man, I'm thirsty. Yeah, it's a complex situation in the world now. So I will stop with my rambling. Um, I did mention in the title gravity, and it's a totally different subject than dependent and independency. But I was so inspired by the talk about space and my off-planet experiences, and I get more and more uh, independent of my own doubts and insecurities, and that I talk about it more. Yvonne Groot, we must stand together. Yeah, that's also a nice one. Yeah, stand together. Yeah. As world, As world. Because as beautiful people around the world, like cultures, like, as I said, like I was in China, I was in Japan, and the original people are really kind, sweet people, but they are so brainwashed and so input and survival. I saw again a lot of videos of how it is there to live there. And if you're rich and so on, that's different. But the people who live there in the country and have to work hard in the cities, it's only survival. And yeah, then I have to think of these images, what I had to witness in these plants, like everyone just living in a giant towers and only working and serving the elite. Tineke Jessie, you love traveling? Hey, Tineke Jessie, yeah, I love traveling, but I did not travel for years now, because I'm inside, of course, overall. If you mean traveling to other countries, yeah, I want to pick up traveling to other countries. I really want to. I love that. Yes, everything is a living being in the universe, and we feed it with our heart. That is the function of humanity. Yeah, you're welcome, Tineke Jessie. Yeah, who doesn't like to travel, eh? I mean, maybe there are people who don't like traveling, but I love it. And by the way, not sitting in an airplane for hours. Oh man, that's not my favorite activity. But yeah, I'm longing for a holiday. I cannot recall when I had a holiday. Maybe you either, but then I have to think, if I see that we're traveling, then I have to think about how many years did I. When was the last time I was really on a holiday? That was in 2008, I think. So that is yeah, many years ago. Yeah, that's fine, Tinik Jessie. You're here, and that's important. And you're almost always here, so I understand. I'm so flabbergasted every time that you all are here, like my giant fans who are even twice a week with me. The majority, that is incredible, because I'm still twice a week live, one in English, one in Dutch. And I will put my English YouTube channel in the chat, because yeah, it's not live there. It's really funny because it is an English spoken live stream, And it's not on my English YouTube channel, so... Hey, Sunbeam Sting! Welcome! Wait. Yeah. Or am I live? No, I'm not live. I'm still checking. No. Not live. But I will put in the YouTube link. Delvetje, we enlighten each other, I hope. Oh, definitely, but I feel that every live stream, that the energy goes up, 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 up. Up, 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 up. All right, this is the... This is my English live stream, my English YouTube channel. So for everyone who likes to subscribe there too, I know it's an extra channel to subscribe to, but you're welcome. I have it's growing. I have now 9 subscribers, so thank you all for following me there, subscribing. And it is, the best way for me to divide the Dutch and the English uploads. It's confusing to put the settings every time on or Dutch or English. And tonight it happened again that Twitch changed into Dutch again. So, and I changed it back. I'm very stubborn. Ah, Yvonne, you just subbed today. Ah, yeah, because it's now online. Ah, that is so nice. Thank you so much. And Rumble as well have 26 followers and 17 watching now. Although I'm not sure if no one is chatting, but and that's totally fine. There are people who are watching on Rumble, but I'm not sure if there are AI in between. AI showing as watchers. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And I think I want to choose for the subject gravity for the next time. Because for some reason I am tired. But yeah, I talked about for the first time that I openly said what I was forced to do in the satanic rituals and with black ops. By the way, to come back to these black operations, I start to realize this is why I am blocked often when I talk about these black operations, because they were involved often with destroying other life forms and other beings. So, yeah. Is it good to talk about it? Is it the right choice? I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. Yes, we are not gods, but we are an important link in the universe, so we are also important for all aliens. Yes, we are a very important link to the Creator. We're part of that creation, so... And I said it a lot of times maybe, but like playing music and singing, our voices, many colonizations, many aliens, they lost like through singing what we can do in the world. It is so beautiful, the voice of the humanity. It is, I think it's one of the most beautiful things, singing. And I wish I had my voice back, because I still want to try sing in a live stream. Maybe I will will cross that threshold and will manage to sing, but one day. But then my my sinuses, my cold has to be really healed. So I'm still a bit raw with my voice, but maybe you can hear that. But to come back to humanity is very special, and especially the voice. And I mentioned last Saturday that, for example, on Mars, you have beautiful instruments in the galaxy and certain colonizations, and there is a crystal-like world of which giants live, and there is a portal in the Himalayas of which I went through, and the music there with the crystals is also beautiful, but the voice, humanity has music. You have a great smoke, Jos. Sunbeam sting, indeed, everything at the time when you're ready for it. Yes. God is give, receive, and share. And it is, by the way, for the English-speaking people, it's in Dutch, geven, ontvangen, delen. So it is the first letters of these words in Dutch. But it is in English, not in the word, shaping the word God, but it's give, receive, share. Yeah, that's beautiful. I learned a lot about really what it is really to receive and what it is really to give. It's an amazing discovery in me, because I thought I already gave a lot, and I never understood why I could not feel I received a lot, or like with love and so on. And I did receive it, but I could not feel it. And now I know really what it is to give and then receive, and it's now a natural imbalance. That's that balance again I was talking about. And that is so great to feel. Question: does every planet have its own sound, like a song or heartbeat? Beautiful question, Sunbeam Sting. Well, the space has also its own sound. So everyone has, every planet, actually every living thing or being has its own sound, if you can say it like that. Yeah. It does, and it is maybe more like a frequency. But there are recordings of how space sounds like. And that was part of the travels, of the time travels, that I was on a planet of which whales were there very strongly. That was a water planet, and I mentioned already that I saw that mermaids did exist once on that water planet, and that these whales were singing, and that I could hear them outside that planet. So the whales could even communicate. I believe they can communicate with other astral planes or other planets. But it was in a time travel that I was in that water planet, on that water planet. I'm still not sure if it still exists, because, sadly also planets were destroyed or dried out or being stolen of their material and their sources, and especially I mentioned about a certain leader. He is the field commander, no, the space commander, the space commander, and starting with a P and an INDAR. I will not call his name out loud, because I did that one time, really specific and detailed about him, and I learned my lesson. I was attacked by demons, but I will not pronounce his name now out loud. But he has a big part in robbing planets and colonizations from the source materials they need. And that is sad. And the firmament with the stars, for example, also this certain P and also L and S, by the way, can still not destroy stars. So if stars die, then another one is being born. That is real. That I have seen it. In my opinion, it is true, and that is still why there is hope for humanity and for the whole space and whole universe to go into that refined state. Because the Creator's work can never be destroyed, in my opinion. It's all my opinion. But sadly enough, there are parts of the galaxy being robbed, literally being robbed, like a kind of piracy. But yeah, fortunately the stars still cannot be attacked, killed. And I in the Black Ops I had to find out if there was a way. Unfortunately, I even did not manage to find out. So I'm glad, because they used me for certain things to find out, and opening certain locked materials, etc., and spaces and portals. And I'm very mixed in talking about it, because I did take part in it involuntarily, and with no consent of my consciousness, but I did work for them, for these awful people. And work for them is not the right word, because then it again seems like I did it voluntarily. No, I did not voluntarily do it. I was programmed. Yeah, I was a robot. Sunbeam sting. So a space or planet has like a layered sound of many things. And if they mine like minerals, oil of a planet, does the vibration and sound and harmony get less? Well, you say it all in the question, Sunbeam Sting. It's beautifully put, yes. There are also planets who have several rings. For example, some planets have their inner worlds, and even these, I explain that often, that's what I wanted to talk about, gravity. That's a very interesting subject. But that there are inner circular movements, and if they are in harmony with each other, then you can live inside a planet. But if that is out of balance, then that inner planet can die out, because that inner central sun of that inner planet can then die out. And yeah, I saw that happen with several colonizations, unfortunately. So, and then the sound and the frequency changes, yes. And by the way, this is why for example, the whales on Earth and also the dolphins are the next target. Like the dolphins, I hear them at times sing to each other. They have a certain language, and they lift up the frequency. And all animals are, in my opinion, even insects, have a certain, how you say that, task or being in as a whole. But like whales, that they had a very specific part in also keeping the frequencies up, and also on Earth. And this is why the whales are being targeted, and also the oceans and the pollution of the oceans, etc. And we are 75% is water. We exist of water for 75%, if I say it right, but at least 75%. So the water elements, like whales, and now the dolphins are being attacked. That's what I know. And the dolphins are still trying to save what and to. Actually, the dolphins are very driven to help the whales and help the lost whales as well. But I know that's a bit maybe too spiritual and too new agey. But yeah, it is what I experienced and what I can hear spiritually and energetically and telepathically, because I hear a lot telepathically. Sputniki, you were forced. Yeah, I was forced. I know, but yeah, you are also sweet. I know that. My dear friend here has to tell me that over and over and over and over and over. Oh. Sunbeam Sting. Thanks for that very clear answer. Okay, well, thank you. And I don't know everything. I'm just a part of the whole. I'm just a part, a part who talks, a part who talks. But I can talk a lot if I want to. Tineke Jessie, we have more water than blood in our body. I've read about this. Is that true? Well, 75% of water and blood is also percentage of water because it's fluid. So yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. So maybe there are some people who are more into the medical world than me. But that's just my spontaneous answer. So. And yeah, as I said, the galaxy and the universe is so special, and the vibrations. And even, by the way, when I was in a certain spacecraft, that in that spacecraft also at times could hear some of these spacecrafts were also living beings. Which were connected to humanity or to, in this case, to work with humanity, and some of them were forced to work for humanity and the deep state, and that is to be in an organic spacecraft is incredible. You have a television series, I think it's from Australia, a science fiction series. And in which you see a spaceship which is in a certain way alive. Maybe I think even Star Trek had episodes of talking about it or visualizing it, that it is possible. But and the sounds are different. Some spacecrafts were totally silent, and others had a kind of inner zoom, and others had a certain. Yeah, like little tiny bells. So that's also an interesting subject. That I was in some of the weirdest spacecrafts, and I still don't know why I was in so many different ones. Hey, Barry! Oh, with the blue mother alien, the small hairy puppet with English accent. And the pilot, flathead inkish fish. Yeah, that one. Oh gosh, I had to think about what you meant, Barry. Yeah. Yeah, but what was it called? That that science fiction series. But Barry described it very well. And it was a pretty okay science fiction series. But yeah. Yeah, I see also on Instagram and on YouTube a new subscriber. Thank you so much for following, subscribe, and that counts for everyone. Like, I put in the chat already my English YouTube channel, but of which I am not live in English now. How could I be so? Well, Tineke Jessie, there's a lot of science fiction movies. Yeah, do you know that one, Tineke Jessie? Barry, I have seen a few, seem to not be my taste. Star Trek Next Gen and Voyager is the one too for me. Yeah. Yeah, I was with that one, with that mother alien, the small hairy puppet, and the pilot flathead inkfish. It was not. I was not so drawn to it. It felt a bit. Yeah, I don't know. It was not for me. Star Trek is and Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is an amazing storyline, by the way. Sputniki, I think it makes me dizzy traveling by spaceship. Well, it's very interesting how that works. They're very advanced and making you feel like you're very balanced flying. So, but I can imagine, Jos, look in the beginning when we consciously discovered within ourselves, we saw through volcano, fire, sea, and we as humans were not really afraid of it when man discovered what fire does. Yeah, beautifully described, Jos. Tineke Jessie V, do you know this television series? Yeah, it gave me the creeps because I saw there for the first time in a television series that you saw, yeah, a certain shape shifting. And the V, V is not wrong, by the way. If someone does peace, I do that myself as well, peace. But there is also the V, which, yeah, is also being used in NASA, etc. The V, the vector or victor. And I love the word victory. Victory, victory. Victory of humanity, yeah. That would be the day. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That we have one beautiful society all together as world with beautiful cultures and especially all children free. That would be the day. I hope to live that. I hope to be witness of that in my lifetime. Tineke Jessie, there are two different television series from V. Yeah, and the second one, the follow-up, I did not like. Somehow. I did not like it. But yeah, I feel with a lot of the first time television series and movies I like the best. But yeah, there are exceptions, but I think I will be looking for some channel to rate. Do you know a nice channel, Barry? Otherwise, I can look who's live and who's a bit into mind control. I see our Harley is live. She's always nice. A lot of people are live. And I also feel fulfilled. So, because it is very intensive, it's a lot of fun with a nice boy in the house of almost 7 years old, or he is 7, I think, already. Very, very joyful as well to have such a sunny boy in the house. Sunny boy is also a song. But it is, I start to feel tired. And of course, coming Saturday, the Dutch one, and I will go live maybe spontaneously, but I'm waiting for the moment that it's really a nice weather and not so cold. I'm not so into cold weather. I love warm weather. Crazy Tone might be into it. And Luna Keller. Farscape. Yeah, Farscape. And I never managed to watch the whole series. You have to go, Jos. Hey, see you next time. En, or spontaneous live. En otherwise, zie jullie allemaal zaterdag, 7:30. In principe. Best science fiction series. Yeah, 50 old times. Oh yeah, I also watch sometimes these scores and these on IMDb. But maybe it's not on IMDb, but or IMBD. And this is gee. Oh man. I started to yawn again. And my head started to fill up again. That's so this cold lasts for so long. So then I will look up that I always like new people, Barry. Crazy Tone. Do I spell it right? Crazy Tone. And Liz K TV. Yeah, and many options. Thanks so much, Yvonne. And everyone who gives these, because they're, yeah, Liz K TV, also nice. But I go for the... Ah, okay.